Oh, okay. Nice to meet you, Chris.
I got that door closed, do I?
You do, yeah. I just had lights on, so you could sort yourself out there. Nice
Busy
to meet
night
you.
or what?
Well, you're the start to my morning, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's a nice little drive, I guess, in the
A
morning.
nice little drive in the morning. You get my company.
Do you get many people out here? Or?
No. This is unusual to have it far out this way.
Yeah.
But
I was
it's
like
nice.
the same thing with the driver that brought me here. He's like, where is this? I don't know. I've never been there either, man.
See, I have come out here before from the city, dropping a wedding party off, actually.
Yes, yeah.
That kind of thing. Maybe it's not unusual to get Okotoks, for example, or Airdrie, or even Cox sometimes. But yeah, it's not as common, I guess. Yeah. It's like when I came into the city limits there, or the town limits, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, here, like it's a fairly sizable space, I guess. Just
Oh yeah.
there's a lot more space on the lots, I imagine.
I think that's one thing Alberta has is just a lot of space.
For sure. Chris, just a quick heads up here before we get too far in. I do something a bit unusual in my Uber where I live stream my rides.
Yeah.
Just I get an amazing allotment of great connections that I love sharing. Did you see the family of deer here? Yeah, they're just hanging out. So anyway, I just wanted you to know so you don't share things so you're like, oh, I didn't want that going online or whatever. Yeah. So, are we flying international or domestic?
Just domestic. I'm living in Newfoundland.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
You're living in Newfoundland.
Yes.
So, at my previous work, I had some friends who moved from here back to Newfoundland.
Yeah.
So they bought a property out there. I think it was 6 acres or something like that.
Okay.
Finished home, finished shop as well, like a magnificent shop, all for $400,000.
Yes. Yeah.
I was just blown away, like space and beautiful homes that are still accessible here in Canada. Oh my goodness. And and the setting there was beautiful though too.
Yes.
So,
Nice. Depending where you are, you can get a lot of land for
a
really good price.
The only thing I've heard out there is, despite like amazing, one of the friendliest cultures in Canada, just the people are known for their hospitality and their genuine kindness, and also the challenge, I guess, of the not many economic opportunities out there is what I heard, right? But I mean, it sounds amazing, especially if you have like a remote work context or something. That would be just brilliant, wouldn't it?
Well, I lived here for 8 years.
Okay.
I moved back last year.
Okay.
So yeah, I've been here for.
Did you move back just because you missed the East?
No, my father is on will, so I just
went back to be close
went
by.
back a little bit closer to him before he passes. So.
Yeah. Sorry to hear. That's not an easy thing, eh? As you have been closer to him, how does one transition in that season of life? Like, how is he doing in that realm? You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, he's got dementia, so he doesn't really know.
I see.
He doesn't really know. Like, he thinks that he can go back home. He just thinks he's in the hospital or something. Sometimes he doesn't even think he's in the hospital.
Yeah.
So it's...
Dementia's a really, really challenging one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because that's where you lose your memory. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Kind of
It's memory and like for him, the type he has is like more aggression and stuff like that. So like, I guess messing with your mental state and everything too, right?
Gotcha. And watching from the sidelines cannot be easy, I imagine too.
No, it's you get used to it at some point. But
I see. And I guess grieving is already like in process or like progressing, right?
It's, he's dementia is not the only thing. He's got cancer. It's just we know the time is coming. It's just he's a strong man. 86, so he's
okay.
Quite hard.
My mom passed about 4 years ago from cancer.
Oh.
It was a battle for about 4 years for her. Watching,
that's about cancer.
agree. It's yeah.
Chemo, all that stuff. It's no good.
I watched a video on social media a few days back, and this guy was saying something that would be like that would be so helpful for our young folks, like teenager, maybe like 18, 19ish, to do. He said would be to go and volunteer for a good year in what do they call it? You know those homes where a palliative care. So that's the homes where people their time is coming up and so they get taken care of. But he was saying it would be really helpful for them to volunteer in that setting because in that space they have a reckoning with the finiteness of life. You know, sometimes as young people, and I can relate, there's this sense that you're invincible and you can do anything, you know, and there's also a balancing component there that says life is short, so how can I make my decisions now with the uncertainty of the future? But we're here for a time, and how can we make our time count?
Yeah.
I thought that was a really interesting perspective, you know, to help give some tone to one's existence, really.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get to spend the time with, especially older people, right?
Yeah.
Like, we're losing a lot of what they grew up experiencing. So it's, you know, to know that, you know, your grandparents or your parents went through hard times. I mean, like, we, you know, we're probably going through hard times too, but it's in a different setting.
A different flavor, for sure. Yeah, it's not apples and apples. It's like apples and oranges.
We're not walking 10 kilometers to go get water.
No, exactly. Yeah. No, that's a good point too. But even reflecting on their experience by way of honor and memory to, you know, saying, here's how we can take stock. Yeah, I agree with that. So, give me a contrast about life here versus life in the East from your experience. Because you said you've been here like 8 years now.
Yeah.
I've only heard of this beauty out in the East, right?
I mean, there's beauty here, though.
True.
I mean, like, I don't know. We have mountains in Newfoundland. That's pretty much the whole island is just hills and mountains. But you know, they have mountains here. You know, the only thing we have other than Alberta is just water. So, looking at a vast ocean, you know what I mean? It's
just a minor flex there. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's just the ocean, you know, just paltry thing.
It's all. I think that's the.
I've also heard how expansive the island is. Like going there for a trip may take. Here's what I heard. When one travels to the Maritimes, they say from a few different sources, they say when one travels out there, you can definitely take all the other maritime provinces in maybe one visit, but Newfoundland requires its own separate trip because there's so much more to see there.
Yeah.
Or so I've heard.
Yeah.
Just the diversity within one island of geography and culture and so on.
Yeah, I think it's just in my opinion, it's probably the way Newfoundland does their tourism. Just, you know, I mean, they're probably just because that's what we rely on the most.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure for for income or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
They're really relying on that. So it's I think they're just exploring more with the tourism than the other
economies. Okay, gotcha. And of course, I've heard in the winter they can get not severe, but like earnest, maybe is a better way to say it, because you get a lot more snow, but it's not as cold. Is that?
Before I left, it was 4 or 5 degrees. So we got rain for probably like 2 or 3 weeks straight. But, you know, rain's better than snow, in my opinion.
Okay.
That's why I'd rather have rain than snow.
And it's humid there. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So does that mean in the summer it's like uncomfortably hot?
It depends the month, but like it doesn't get extremely hot.
Yeah.
The moisture in there definitely makes it
more felt.
A lot worse.
Okay.
Here you're like 40 degrees, you know, it's hot.
Yeah.
But you can stand outside for 10 minutes and not, you know, being going as a ball of sweat.
Yeah. Gotcha. one of my riders yesterday, whom I met, she was probably the first person I've met in a long time who prefers humid heat over dry heat. And so I found that fascinating because, I mean, on this side of the world, for the most part, you know, we've got dry heat, you know, and so, but she's been here for like a good 3.5 decades. And I said, that's a long time to make it work. But nonetheless, yeah.
Some people just like being next to water, right? Like, just, you know, I mean, if they go to Cuba or they go to like Mexico every year where they're on the ocean and,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, they get that mugginess heat.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, I mean, that's probably something they enjoy.
Yeah.
People do use saunas and stuff, so it's, it's the same thing.
Are you an only child of your family, Chris?
No, I got a brother and sister. My sister lives in Great Britain.
Oh, okay.
That's where I always lived.
I see. So far away, eh?
Yeah.
Oh.
My brother is in New Brunswick.
Okay. So he's closer to you.
Yeah.
Ish. I
Well,
mean,
well, I'm closer to my sister. No, my brother is. We're not. I don't know. We're all close. But
Yeah.
We're not.
as
you know what
close.
I mean? Yeah.
Gotcha.
Talk every day, but we wouldn't fly to see each other. Like he comes to Newfoundland every couple of years.
Yeah.
But that's, you know, I mean, he never came to Alberta the whole time I was living there. So, I mean, we don't
yeah.
go away to see each other, but
Yeah.
we talk to each other. Yeah.
I see. And where do you fit? Are you the youngest, oldest, middle?
I'm the youngest.
You're the youngest.
Yeah,
okay.
my parents. I'm pretty sure I was a
Afterthought?
oopsie. my dad's 86 and I'm 33, so he was in his 50s when he.
Okay. So the age gap between you and your eldest is
10 years.
10 years.
Yeah, my sister's 43.
Okay.
Quite a difference.
In my family, I'm the eldest
Oh, okay.
of 6.
Wow.
Yeah.
So not many people are having a lot of kids nowadays.
Yeah. And in addition, the age gap between me and my youngest sister, who's now my roomie actually, is 22 years difference.
Oh man!
I know, that's pretty unusual, eh? So
that's a big difference.
it is, yeah. And I'm not sure if she was an oops either, because when we moved to Canada, it was just me and my 2 brothers, and then I guess in my teens and then onwards into my 20s, my parents had 3 more, and now they're grown up. So I'm just a bit older than your sister.
Yeah.
But as I look back on, it's been really neat to see the younger 3 growing up. In a sense, it's I don't know. There's just this sense of like amazement at they were once kids and now they're like fellow adults who.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's good. I have a kid and I don't know, just he's 5, almost 6, and he's just, you know, he's pretty much acting like an adult, and
that's amazing.
So,
at 6 years old, right?
we put him in French, so he's, you know, he knows more French than I do at 5, so it's kind of weird.
Yeah, at that young age, they are able to take in so much.
Oh
like, yeah, it's pretty fascinating and inspiring to watch.
It's incredible.
6 years old, eh? I have 3 myself now.
Oh, okay.
And the interesting thing, Chris, is this. My 3 kids mimic, gender-wise, my 3 siblings. So, girl, boy, girl.
Man.
And, I mean, they're approaching their teens now as well. And so, like, my ex and I, we just keep looking at each other and saying, like, how did time go so fast? You know, like, it's just been... Yeah, I mean, it's exciting to watch, but it's also astounding how quickly the time, just dissipates and moves on. But even as I watch them, 2 things happen. One, I mix their names up with my siblings, and I mix my siblings' names up with them. So I call my siblings by my kids' names, and my kids by my siblings. It's just, I don't know why, it just keeps happening. So they've just gotten used to it by now, but usually the eldest with my, the eldest of my kids with the eldest of the second 3, you know, the second batch of my siblings and so on. But, and then secondly, I feel like I've already had a peek into the future with my siblings growing up and saying, this is, like, they're so similar in their personalities. from my kids to my siblings, but just kind of saying, here's just a foretaste of what it could feel like with my 3 kids growing up as well too.
Yeah.
It's kind of neat. It's kind of neat to be able to imagine that progression, as they're growing up. Since becoming a dad, what do you feel has been the biggest change in you?
Well, I guess I would probably grown up. Like, I wasn't probably the smartest, like, with financial decisions. And,
Gotcha.
I mean,
Yeah.
different things. But,
Yeah.
like, other than that, not much has changed.
Gotcha. Like you feel more responsible now in the way that you're ordering your life. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
I don't know. It's just a sense of, I don't know, get a good sense of just a good feeling. Having I got a wife and kid. It's,
Yeah.
fulfilling, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. When I first became a dad, I think my main concern was, how do I not screw these amazing humans up? So how can I have my act together in such a way that, I can help them along? And I was, of course, having the way I at that season of life, I was still trying to figure some things out too, but I'm like, how do I not screw these guys up? And so I wanted to present that sense of competence that, I had my orders in a fair. But it's changed quite drastically now in the last, I don't know, decade or so. Personally, I've had quite a few face plants and fumbles, and I've had to grow quite a bit in ways that were just it was due. I was overdue for growing up, and so now after all those significant personal growth opportunities in my life, I think one of the biggest gifts I want to leave them is just kind of I'm a lot more comfortable and open about the way I'm a messy, fumbling human being.
Yeah.
And so I almost find once upon a time that would have been a point of shame for me, where I'm like, man, I hope no one ever finds out this or that. But now it's more actually, here's my story, and here's the opportunity I had to walk through to face this and grow through this. So now even whenever I have the chance, I love being able to share them, saying, here's how Dad doesn't really have it together, but here's how we're trying along the way. And I want to do that more so because it seems like we're in a context societally where there isn't as much margins for making mistakes in life. It's more like we're wired to don't make mistakes and get things right. Instead of saying in our humanity, we miss the boat sometimes, but how in the midst of our messiness and our mistakes and our where we drop the ball, how can we extend kindness and grace to ourselves, even as we pick ourselves back up and re-engage and try again. That's one of the things I'd love to be able to leave them with, saying you don't have to get this perfect in a world that demands perfection.
Yeah, nobody's perfect. It's all a learning experience for everyone.
Yeah. I know when I was growing up, I never saw that in the adults that were in my life, that level of saying, hey, here's how I'm trying to figure my way through life, right? And so, I don't know, I think I would have loved to see that modeled as I grew up.
You don't really grow up until you experience life itself, and then go through the hardships to realize what you need to do in life.
Agreed. Yeah. I think for the most of my 20s and into my 30s, I still felt that sense that I lacked confidence. I didn't feel grown up, and when I look back now, it's because I hadn't experienced enough yet. I wasn't sure if I could really take the challenges of life on, but like I said, after my face plants. I call them face plants in life, my significant ones especially, whereas like, it just takes you to that really bottom level of, can I make it through this kind of thing, right? Having faced those and gone through them and the pain of that and the growth afterwards, there's just this confidence that builds up over time where you're like, okay, I've experienced some really low depths, and it's tempered my perspective on how I see and take up space in the world. And I think that's probably what gives me a tremendous amount of courage now to walk with confidence in life, saying, all right, I feel I've been tempered. I'm not naive anymore. I'm not like simplistic in the way that I try to make my decisions for that kind of thing, right? So, yeah. As far as your early years, are all those memories back in the East? Is that where you grew up as well?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, I grew up I moved to Alberta in 2016.
Oh, wow, okay.
I was 26 when I moved away.
Okay. What does it feel like being back in the East, though? Is it like, this is where it needs to be?
Yeah, it's different.
Yeah.
It's, harder to find work.
Yeah.
But it's more of a relaxed place.
Okay.
We don't have, there's no big cities. Nobody's really in a rush.
Yeah.
There's no, there's no really big industries there.
Yeah.
So nobody's in a rush to get to work. Nobody's,
Interesting.
Traffic it wasn't bad, but
Yeah.
drivers are very aggressive.
Yeah.
And again, aggressive drivers in Calgary are going to get it too because it's a big city, right? But just, I don't know, back east it's a little more laid back.
Yeah.
A little more just go with the flow kind of thing.
So I'm contrasting that to here, because I'm thinking the economy isn't as strong, but people are very relaxed. How do they process or express their, I guess, the pressure points in life economically when there isn't a strong industry? Like, how are they able to take it easy and relax in the midst of uncertainty?
I just think it's because that's the way it's been for so long.
Yeah.
Newfoundland's always been at the bottom of the barrel.
Oh, I see.
Economically
or across the country, yeah.
But in every other aspect, it's probably one of the top places in the country for a lot of everything else, right?
Yeah,
so it's hard to say, man. It's if you again, people can afford to buy houses, they can afford everything. So people are getting work and stuff. It's just there's not as much work.
Yeah.
Like here, you can make $100,000 a year if you wanted to work hard,
right?
And just go to high school, right?
Yeah.
It's not that it wouldn't be that hard to do.
Yeah.
In Newfoundland, that'd be nearly impossible. You need to go to school. There's no industry that's going to take you on as an apprentice unless you've already went to school.
I see.
Like for me, I went to school for heavy equipment.
Yeah.
But when I came up here, they didn't give a shit about my tickets.
I see.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's like
fascinating. There's almost a paradox there, and what I'm seeing is, for example, I've heard of Westerners who go to, say, third world countries for some volunteer mission. They're going to go there and help a community abroad, building a school or something like that. And their mindset is, we've got so much wealth and hope, I guess, economically to share with these folks over here. And so they feel, as they're going there, that they're bringing a lot of value to that setting. But in reality, what often transpires in an unexpected way is, as they go there, and they don't have any concerns about where their next meal is going to come from the way these individuals do that they're helping out, right? They don't have any concerns about their safety, for example, the way these individuals might, because they're not sure from day to day if they're going to live. And so there's such a disparity there. But as they go there thinking, we've got so much to bring, resources to invest and that kind of thing that's going to help this community, in reality what happens is they get blindsided blindsided because as they go to these communities that have nothing, they're blown away in how these communities show hospitality.
Oh yeah.
And show hospitality out of their poverty, really. So here they are with maybe their last meal, but they take the whole last meal and present it in a lavish way to gifts the ones they're hosting. And these folks can see that they're serving them from their poverty, and they have no guarantee about where their next meal is coming from, and they're just so blown away and saying, like, where, like, that expression of generosity almost shows how rich these individuals are in the way they take up space in this world and live, in contrast to theirs where they're a lot more careful, I guess, right?
Yes.
And so they come back totally blown away, thinking we went to give, but actually we got way more, you know, in ways that these individuals in these small impoverished places have a richness and a generosity that is incomparable. And so you're reminding me that when you were saying about how Newfoundland, it may be the bottom of the barrel economically, nation-wise, yet there's this sense of something intuitive that they know and experience in a way that most, you know, in the well-populated and affluent regions maybe don't have experience with. And that's maybe something along the lines of, what does it feel like to have enough or to be content, right? What does it look like to enjoy the small moments in life and to have memories where you're not under pressure and depression and all the other things that compound over time in such a setting. So you're just reminding me of that contrast, which it's hard to describe unless you've been there and experienced that, right?
Again, I think it's just the way it's been. So people are just used to, like you said, you go to small communities, they'll give you the last, you know, I mean, the last bit of their food. Just, you know, I mean, they'll invite you into you into their house.
Yeah.
It's, I don't know.
It's amazing. It's I see those stories and to see that here is more unusual, I suppose.
I mean, if you went to a smaller community, like again, I don't know about the place I was staying, because it's more of an up, you know what I mean? But like, I met a couple of the neighbors, and they were very polite and nice, and you know what I mean? So it's like, I went for a walk yesterday morning when I woke up, and the neighbor and her dog. The dog wanted to see me, so he waited for me to walk the whole road and back. And she's just like, he waited for you that whole time. He was just sitting down there waiting. The second time I started walking up towards him, he just came up with a toy in his mouth, wagging his tail.
That is kind of sweet. I spent some time in northern Saskatchewan a few years back, for a few years, and same dynamic. Even when I was a tree planter once upon a time, when we're out in the middle of nowhere, but farmland, you know, it's the kind of setting where when you pass other strangers, there's that intentional recognition, you know, a wave or whatever. I see you and I acknowledge that you exist. Or if you're in the small towns, there's a lot more openness, I think, for connection, especially if you're a stranger in the community there, right? So I know what you're talking about, especially in smaller settings, right? And I've also noticed a trend as well too. It depends. For example, when folks come here from Toronto or Vancouver, one of the things they're commenting on is that they say similar things like, I can't believe how friendly you guys are here in Calgary, you know, like there's just a far more openness in contrast to settings that I hear are more indifferent and cold, you know, in the sense that you just don't talk to strangers.
Well, you kind of
on the
see it
subway.
when you go to the airport, because they got cowboy, like, guys dressed, you know, with the cowboy hats and everything. And they're greeting you, like, you don't really go to Toronto Airport, and you don't get that, right? Maybe Air Canada says hi to you, but like, that's their job, right? But like, those guys, you know, I mean, Calgary tries to make, it seems like they, you know, I mean, that's what they're trying to express as one of the
hospitality.
The top points of Calgary is the hospitality and friendliness, and you know, what I mean, and in Canada, that's, you know, what I mean, again, that's what we go off of. We're supposed to be a friendly country. Friendly people.
But then by contrast, when we have like folks coming, say from Grand Prairie or even smaller communities around, and it's the opposite. Where they're like, oh, it's not as warm as they're accustomed to. And so
Yeah,
I saw that.
It's a little rough there. But
It is.
again, it's a work town, right?
Sure
People
enough,
are
yeah.
there to
Blue
make
collar,
money.
exactly, yeah.
They got their friends. You know, what I mean, they're not, and especially when you got a homeless problem like Grand Prairie does in such a small place.
It does have one?
Oh yeah, Grand Prairie was bad for homeless. We had 10 cities.
Really?
Grand Prairie is bad.
Wow, I would see. I can see it in bigger cities, but it's not.
I mean, there's a lot of hospitality. Like, I'm on the
Yes.
group, the Facebook group there, and
Yeah.
people are giving, but it's, you know, what I mean, it's hard to, I don't know, it's hard to explain.
Yeah.
Like, I lived there for 8 years, so
Yeah.
I love the place.
Yeah.
I'd move back in a heartbeat if I could.
You would, okay.
It's,
What do you like about Grand Prairie? Because I've worked out of Grand Prairie too, and I wasn't a fan.
well, I mean, I don't know, I just, well, being there for 8 years, I just got adapted to it.
Found
It's,
community, yeah.
I don't know, I liked it there.
When I was there, I
enjoyed my
guess.
time. I enjoyed the people I met.
Yeah. Maybe that's what I didn't get. Is see, when I was there, I was working on the rigs at the time.
Oh yeah.
And my experience, I agree, it was tough. But working there, like, what's in my memory a lot more is how barren it is, how cold,
Oh, yes.
how unforgiving that wind is when it comes across there, and
It's windy all the time.
and it's dark whenever I was out working. And, it was just like bleak. Bleak is probably a good word. So that's my reference point. But when you meet people, like I can imagine it's a different setting that way.
Just a lot of diesel trucks and people wanting to make a big buck.
Fair. Diesel trucks.
A lot of people like that live there aren't
Yeah.
even from Grand Prairie, right? Like
Right.
people like me who move there
From far.
try to make a bit of money or
Yeah.
try to better their lives or whatever like that.
I remember, like, even on the rigs, they were all over the country,
Oh,
from
yeah.
Manitoba and even like Newfoundland and so on. And
Yeah. Met so many newfies when I worked in the oil field. It was just insane.
Now,
Pretty much every side I went to.
apparently Newfies have a unique accent. I don't think I've heard that in your vernacular.
Because I lived here and I kind of like, you know, talking to, I don't know, I guess
The West Side.
I'm trying to be a little bit more well-spoken anyways, but like,
Yeah.
just, you know, I'd walk into a store when I first moved up there, I'd be like,
Yeah.
what do you at by? And they'd look at me, you know, with two heads and say, what? And I'd have to like correct myself, you know, I mean, actually
Yeah.
say, because if I did that in Newfoundland, if I said, what do you at by to somebody, they'd answer me.
Gotcha.
So saying it to somebody up here was
Say it
just
again.
like,
How do you say it?
what are you at by?
And what? How does that translate? Because I'm trying to break that down.
Like, what are you at? Like, what are you at?
What are you at? What are you
And that
at?
by would be just like,
I see. Interesting. Yeah, that's a phrase we don't use here. What are you at?
what are you at? Yeah.
I guess it's similar to your what's up.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. What are you at?
Generally, the reply is, this is it.
This is it.
Yeah, like, pretty much 90% of newbies will just say, this is it.
Interesting.
I mean, they can have a lot going on,
Yeah.
but this is it.
In this moment, kind of thing. Yeah. Interesting. Okay, so I'm thinking about like the prairies where I was hanging out. One of the pressure points economically was for farmers trying to figure out what seed they're going to choose in say 2 years time that they're going to make an appeal to the bank for, a loan or whatever. And that's a huge pressure point to like almost forecast your what you're going to deal with in 2 years based on like the best you have information wise, right? What seed or what. That's something I saw in a relatively slow-paced life in the prairies, right? Farmers, they're hard workers, but they've got sort of seasons that they go through. Your harvest, the planting, and so on. What would that be in the Maritimes, say Newfoundland? Like
Fishing.
Fishing, okay. And so they're kind of watching that and saying,
yeah, because everything's seasonal, right? Like the government only allows you to fish certain things at a certain time of year, and then all the other parts of the year you can't do that. So it's, the fishermen. That's one of the big points of Newfoundland where they're fighting on like fishermen. There's not as many as them as there used to be because
Okay.
it's not as plentiful financially for people anymore, right?
Yeah, gotcha.
It's good money. Don't get me wrong. Like if you got on a big fishing boat, it
Yeah.
would be you're probably making 150K a year. But it's you know, it's you're out on the water for a month.
Okay.
Which, and again, like we had recently a boat sink
Wow.
where 8 guys they all survived.
Yeah.
You know, like they were looking for them in the Atlantic Ocean for quite some time, probably like 6 hours or something like that.
And you're way out there too. It's not like you could see.
Oh yeah, they're not close to land.
Wow. How does a ship sink? That's an unusual thing, I'm guessing, right?
I don't know the full story on it. All I know is they survived.
Okay, but that's
a good thing.
Yeah, that's an unusual thing for.
Which is unusual, yeah.
Yeah.
You're definitely right about that.
Because those things are fairly sturdy for the most part.
I think like it was just perfect, right? Like they got their flotation device on the water in time, and everything just went right for them, right?
Right. Yeah.
Which is I don't think any of them were even in the water. They were just
protocol kicked in, basically.
They're just on a raft and lucky, I guess.
Yeah. For sure.
Smart, prepared.
Yeah.
Same thing in the oil field, right? If you're doing everything right, you're not going to have any issues. But there's, there's always going to be problems that are unforeseen.
Yeah. That you're bracing for.
Yeah.
I've only seen videos on occasion of some who are out in the water fishing and so on, in their ship, like the way the waves are fluctuating and the way it shows how they have to get used to bracing against the waves and walking up vertically sometimes or whatever, right?
They'll be cooking in the kitchen and all of a sudden they'll hit a wave and the person will just like hit the wall or something.
Yep, I've seen that too. And it's a different world.
Yeah, like fishing and farming, those are brutal. I mean, now farming is getting a lot easier.
True, with all this.
Everything's pretty much automatic now, but it's
once upon a time
automated.
Yeah, but that's not so in fishing quite yet, I imagine.
No, it's pretty much not much has changed for fishing. They got bigger nets and easier ways to catch fish, but they're still pulling the cages out of the water and you're still out in the middle of the ocean where the weather you can never predict it, right?
I see. How big are the crews on those ships usually that go fishing? Is it like a small handful?
You can have a crew of 5 or you can have a crew of 30.
Okay.
It all depends how big the ship is. There's a lot of different sizes.
Yeah.
I know one of my friend's sisters is her husband works on a fishing boat, but it's like a massive one.
Yeah.
And he makes, I think it's like $250,000 a year. He's the engineer on the ship.
Yeah.
So like making that kind of money on a fishing boat, now that might fluctuate with how much they catch and everything. But he's, that kind of money is stupid because he's only working half the year.
Man, that is amazing.
He's only working maybe 8 months.
And when they're in that season of work, they're gone like a month at a time, you say?
Yeah, I'm sure it might be longer for bigger boats, right?
And then
they're gone for a couple months.
And then they're back for like a week or two, or?
It depends on the season, right?
Gotcha.
It depends how much fish they can catch and how much fits on their boat. If you got a big boat, then you can stay out for longer. If you got a small boat, then you'll
in and out,
coming back and forth a little bit more.
Gotcha. And is it challenging to find work on those fishing boats or not?
Well, you gotta have a lot of certification.
Oh, really?
You gotta,
I wouldn't know that.
I'm pretty sure you gotta go to like St. John's and do a course. And it's not easy.
Okay.
It's the same thing here working in the oil field, right? HOS, but I think these courses are probably they're not just day courses. They're
a week longer.
Yeah, they might be a week, they might be 2 weeks. I've never looked at. I'm not a good swimmer.
Yeah.
I don't really like that kind of stuff.
Is that necessary to be to know how to swim?
Well, it's pretty essential if you fall in the water. If you
they don't wear flotation devices. There we go. Okay, there we go.
That's why fishermen die because they don't wear their. They're just on the boat, man. They're hard people, right?
Yeah.
Their lives after the fact, depending how big the boat is, usually they're probably living a hard life, anyways. Not most of them now, but you get your same thing here. You get people in the oil field who, especially on the rigs.
I
know I worked on a couple rigs. Well, not. I worked with a couple rigs.
Yeah.
That some of them got skidded because they would find like pipes on, like in the bathrooms.
Wow.
And stuff like that, right?
Yeah, yeah. That's crazy. Huh. I definitely get the feel though whenever I hear about the Maritimes, it's a whole different world out there, and that's what I think for me creates even more intriguing, romantic. What's it like idea, you know? And that within the same country. I mean, it's a vast country, lots of land, lots of cultures for sure. I'm sure, like up north, for example, in say Nunavut or Northwest Territories, like a totally different way of life too.
Oh,
that
yeah.
is so foreign to most of us, right?
People drive skidoos as their main transportation. Pretty much, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and that's a hard. Like I got a buddy who lives in Nunavut, I think it is.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, he grew up there his whole life, but
Gotcha.
it's, you know, that's still a hard thing to be doing when,
For sure.
like, we're north.
Yeah.
And like where we were in Grand Prairie that was north, and
Yeah.
minus 40, minus 45 sometimes.
Oh yeah.
And being more north than that, I can just imagine how miserable.
For sure.
Half the year it's sunny.
Yeah.
Half the year, I don't know again if it's half the year, but it's, I mean, sometimes it's dark, sometimes it's always late.
Yeah.
3 o'clock in the morning it's late. It's,
Yeah. Huh. Remind me again, we were going westward, right? Westward or
Air
Canada?
Canada.
Thank you. Check out the hoarfrost here. Isn't this something?
what's that?
The hoarfrost on the
Oh, I
trees?
know.
Yeah.
It's one thing I loved about Grand Prairie was when it got cold. The
Yeah.
trees just frosted over.
Oh man. It's like picturesque, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it takes time to do, but as kids, I remember we used to just go and like beat the branches and see it all fall down.
Yeah.
Much to the chagrin of the grown-ups, but. Chris, I really enjoyed your time with you.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
It's good to talk.
I agree. It's neat how you, like, before you got in, I'm like, I know nothing of this individual. But in the aftermath, it's like, man, I got a good pulse on where you're at in life. And that's really, really sweet.
It's good. Never flown out of Calgary before.
No way. This first half, or 2/3, I'd say, of our airport here is all local or domestic. And then the second half or third there is international.
Yeah.
And then the downstairs portion is where the arrivals happen.
Oh, okay.
So it's like the park is fairly simple. Let me help you grab your bag here. Oh no, you don't have a
Oh, I
bag.
don't have a bag, my buddy.
You're good. So nice to meet you, man.
Nice to meet you. I appreciate
travels, man.
appreciate the ride and
My
so early in the
pleasure.
morning.
My pleasure. You're a good company.
Happy to have you as my first, as your
Start?
first passenger.
Oh, I'm happy. Indeed.
See you later.
Yeah, you too, man. All good?
See ya.
Cheers. Good morning, friends. How are you? I hope you guys enjoyed that interaction with Chris. This is my early morning. It's about 3:40 now. I've been up since 2:30. That was a good long ride, though. I love these long rides because then we get a good chance to get to know each other, right? Let me see if I can catch up on some of these comments. The bow tie. People are commenting on that. What are you? You can tell. Oh goodness, you all are very creative in your contributions here. Okay, not much to respond to there, but thank you for listening in on this live stream. I have another one queued up in about 40 minutes, but I might get another ride in the meantime. So when that happens, I will log back on. If you want to follow along and be a part of these, and be a fly on the wall as aware, I would love to have you join. And if you want to get notifications when I do go online, consider subscribing and then clicking that notification button as well. I I will see you on the next episode. Bye.